If you own a golden retriever, you probably think the worst case scenario on any given Tuesday is like them chewing up your favorite pair of running shoes.
Right, which is definitely annoying.
Oh, totally annoying. But biologically speaking, the real tragedy happening in your house isn't actually the destroyed shoe. It's the fact that your dog might be suffering from a massive evolutionary mismatch.
Yeah, it's a huge issue.
I mean, we all have this image of the golden retriever as the ultimate, domestic family rug dog, just this smiling golden-haired creature happily napping in a patch of suburban sunlight.
Which is such a comforting image, but
But it's totally wrong. What you actually brought home is an elite, rugged Scottish Highland athlete, and keeping that athlete trapped in suburban tranquility is kind of silently destroying their health.
we're really dealing with a profound case of mistaken identity here.
Yeah.
I mean, people see a soft, friendly face and they completely forget they're looking at biological machinery engineered for like endurance and stamina and complex problem solving in really treacherous field conditions. The modern living room is basically an alien environment to their DNA.
Well, welcome to today's deep dive. We are thrilled you're joining us because our mission today is to decode the hidden rules of keeping one of the world's most popular dog breeds structurally sound, active, and mentally sharp.
Exactly.
Our source material for this is the fourth installment of the guide from the Golden Retriever Health Academy, which focuses entirely on the mechanics of exercise and weight. But, we aren't just going to give you a boring checklist of walking tips.
Oh, far from it. We're dissecting the biological blueprint of this animal.
Yeah.
Because to keep them thriving, you really have to understand their underlying machinery.
Right.
Only then can you, reverse engineer your modern environment to satisfy those ancient evolutionary needs.
Okay, let's unpack this because before we even touch on how many miles you should walk your dog, we have to look at the mechanics of their drive.
Yeah, the why behind their energy.
Exactly. According to the Academy's research, these dogs were originally synthesized to work alongside hunters for hours on end, like retrieving heavy game across rugged terrain, swimming through freezing Scottish waters, and doing it repeatedly without quitting.
And that working background didn't just, evaporate because we started feeding them kibble out of ceramic bowls.
Right.
That heritage baked a very specific requirement into their central nervous system.
Yeah.
I mean, they possess immense physical stamina, sure, but the truly dominant trait is a hardwired neurological drive to be engaged in a complex task.
So they need a job.
They desperately need a job.
Yeah.
Their brain demands work just as much as their muscles do.
Which brings up a fatal flaw in how most people treat them, I think. Buying a golden retriever and treating it like a couch potato is basically like buying a high-performance sports car just to sit in bumper-to-bumper traffic every single day.
That is a perfect analogy.
The engine is idling, the horsepower is there, but there is nowhere for the combustion to go, and that energy just, turns inward.
And this is where we see the concept of enrichment totally misunderstood. Physical exercise burns calories and builds muscle, obviously.
Yeah.
But mental stimulation, using their olfactory system, making them problem solve, that requires intense focus and sensory processing. When a golden retriever uses its nose to track a hidden scent, a massive portion of its brain lights up.
Oh.
Yeah. Processing that complex scent data actually drains blood glucose. It actively burns physiological energy.
So solving a puzzle toy can actually be as exhausting for them as a long walk.
In many ways, it exhausts them more deeply. You're taxing their brain CPU rather than just, fatiguing their leg muscles.
That makes so much sense.
For a working dog, using their brain to figure out a puzzle feeder engages the exact evolutionary instincts they were bred for.
Yeah.
A fatigued body paired with an actively engaged mind is really the only mathematical formula for a truly content-working breed.
And if you deny them that puzzle, they will simply invent their own puzzle.
Yes, they will.
And you aren't going to like it. The research points out that a bored golden develops severe undesirable behaviors, like chronic pacing, obsessive licking, or shredding your couch cushions.
What's fascinating here is that owners almost universally misdiagnose those actions. We view chewing or pacing as behavioral rebellion, right? Like a bad dog acting out.
Something that needs to be punished or trained away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But looking at their biological blueprint, those are actually symptoms of an unmet evolutionary need. By building sensory enrichment into a daily routine, you prevent those issues at the root. You're treating the disease, not endlessly punishing the symptom.
Well, we have to shift the conversation to the actual physical chassis of a dog, though. We're talking about an animal built for intense, stamina-driven work. That implies a lot of wear and tear.
A tremendous amount, yeah.
But the way you manage that physical wear and tear has to change depending on where they are in their life cycle. Like, we can't just look at this chronologically. We have to look at how the biological bill comes due over time.
Right. Managing a golden retriever skeleton is essentially an exercise in biomechanical preservation. You're managing a physical machine that is highly vulnerable on the front end during puppyhood,
Right.
capable of massive output during adulthood, and then requires delicate preservation in its senior years.
So let's talk about the front end then, because there is this pervasive myth, and I've definitely believed it, that a hyperactive, bouncing puppy needs to be run into the ground so the owner can finally get some sleep.
Oh, it's such a common trap.
Wait, you'd think puppies need to run off all that crazy energy, but you're saying a long, structured run is actually a bad idea. Why are we treating a future athlete so delicately?
Because a puppy's skeleton isn't made of solid rock yet. It's essentially wet concrete.
Oh, wow. Wet concrete.
Yeah, the ends of their long bones feature epiphyseal plates, growth plates, which are these soft, vulnerable areas of developing cartilage. When you force a 6-month-old golden to pound the pavement for a 3-mile jog, you aren't building athletic endurance.
What are you doing then?
You're inflicting repeated microtraumas on that soft cartilage before it has even had the chance to ossify into solid bone.
You are literally microfracturing their skeletal foundation.
Precisely the danger. High-impact, repetitive exercise at that developmental stage can cause permanent, lifelong structural deformities like elbow or hip dysplasia.
That is terrifying.
It really is. The protocol for puppies must rely on short, frequent bursts of self-directed activity, like natural movement on soft ground where the puppy dictates the pace and can just collapse for a nap the millisecond they feel fatigued.
So they need unpredictable sprints and immediate naps, not marathon training.
Exactly.
But eventually that concrete dries, right? The growth plates close. And the Academy Guide details that adult Goldens require a massive uptick in consistent daily activity. We're talking brisk walks, jogging, active fetching. The engine is finally fully built.
The training wheels come off, and you can safely tap into that working heritage. But even then, the wear and tear accumulates. Every game of fetch, every jump to catch a frisbee exerts force on their joints.
So you still have to be careful.
Right. The goal during adulthood is to balance high output with injury prevention, constantly observing how your specific dog recovers.
Which makes the transition into the senior stage incredibly tricky because that internal drive, that brain that wants to work and retrieve, that doesn't just switch off because their cartilage is wearing thin.
It definitely doesn't.
You have a dog whose mind writes, checks its body, can no longer cache.
And that is the ultimate challenge of the senior years. The mathematical priority flips entirely. I mean, in adulthood, you are maximizing energy expenditure. In the senior stage, you are solely focused on preserving mobility.
Wow, quite the shift.
Yeah, the routine has to shift toward lower impact, shorter sessions that keep the synovial fluid moving in their joints without triggering inflammation. You really have to save them from their own work ethic.
That concept, protecting the chassis while still satisfying the engine, forces us to look at where and what we are doing for their activity. Environment dictates everything.
Environment is the unseen variable that ruins even the best exercise plans. You can have the perfect duration and intensity mapped out, but if the terrain or the climate is wrong, you're actively degrading their health.
Let's push back on something here, though. If these dogs were engineered for the rugged Scottish Highlands, shouldn't their paws and joints be basically bulletproof?
You would think so, yeah.
Right. Why does the Academy Guide place such a heavy emphasis on avoiding hard or slippery surfaces? Why are we suddenly treating this rugged athlete like fragile glass on concrete?
It all comes down to shock absorption and ground reaction forces. In the Scottish Highlands, they were running through marshes, peat bogs, and tall grass.
So soft ground.
Exactly. Soft, natural earth absorbs a massive percentage of the downward kinetic energy when a 60-pound dog lands on its front legs. Concrete and asphalt offer zero shock absorption.
The energy has nowhere to go but straight back up into the leg.
Exactly. The ground reaction force is shoot straight back up through the carpal joints, the elbows, and the shoulders. Their biomechanics evolved to rely on the earth acting as a cushion. Right.
So when you move them to a modern suburban environment like slick hardwood floors indoors and paved sidewalks outdoors, you are subjecting their joints to a magnitude of impact force they were simply never designed to withstand over a lifetime.
Given that mechanical limitation, the source material brings up a fantastic alternative: swimming. Oh, it's brilliant. It completely aligns with their water-retrieving heritage, giving them the cardiovascular exertion of a hard run, but the hydrostatic pressure of the water reduces the joint impact to absolute zero.
Swimming is arguably the supreme form of conditioning for this breed, but we cannot assume they are born knowing the butterfly stroke.
Right. Don't just toss them in.
The Academy really emphasizes that individual comfort varies wildly. Throwing a dog into a lake to see if their instincts kick in is a recipe for panic. It requires gradual, confidence-building introductions in shallow, calm water.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. We have this dog originally bred to swim in freezing, icy Scottish lakes. To survive that, they evolved a highly specialized biological trait, a dense, double-layered waterproof coat.
Yes. And human beings have taken that specific biological adaptation and dropped it into modern, humid, 90-degree suburban summers.
It is the absolute definition of an environmental mismatch. The double coat consists of a dense undercoat for insulation and longer guard hairs to repel water. In a hot climate, they are essentially trapped in a heavy winter parka that they cannot take off.
And dogs don't sweat like we do to regulate that heat.
Right, they rely on respiratory evaporation, panting, to cool their internal temperature. But panting is incredibly inefficient when the dog is wrapped in an insulating layer of fur and the outside humidity is high. The thermal regulation bottleneck is severe.
The guide is adamant about this. During the summer, structured outdoor exercise must be restricted to the coolest margins of the day, like early morning or late evening.
Absolutely.
And on truly oppressive days, the physical walk has to be abandoned entirely in favor of indoor, air-conditioned mental stimulation.
Which is critical. And this raises an important question for anyone managing this breed. How do you actually measure when they are pushed too far? The line between a satisfied, tired dog and a dog in medical distress is incredibly thin.
Well, normal fatigue seems pretty straightforward. The dog slows their pace, maybe lags behind on the leash, or actively seeks out a cool patch of tile to lie down on. They're communicating that the tank is empty.
Yeah, that is normal physiological exhaustion. But dangerous overexertion looks mechanically different.
What should we look for?
If you see a dog panting with a flat, wide tongue, and that panting will not settle down even after 10 minutes of rest, their thermal regulation is failing. If they show a total reluctance to stand, or you see a sudden, subtle shift in their gait like a hitch in their step, that is a massive red flag.
And the guide draws a hard line in the sand regarding those red flags. Persistent limping or visible signs of pain mandate a veterinary visit. As an owner, you should never try to play armchair diagnostician with mobility issues.
Trusting your vet is non-negotiable here. When an animal whose entire genetic code is wired to ignore discomfort, keep pushing, and keep working finally shows you they are limping, the damage is already significant.
Right. They hide it so well.
Exactly. It falls completely outside the realm of normal soreness.
Getting this exercise balance wrong, whether it's destroying their cartilage on hot asphalt or depriving them of mental tasks, it doesn't just result in a hyperactive nuisance. The ultimate consequence of this entire biological equation failing is a massive structural threat. We have to talk about the weight trap.
Oh, obesity is the silent destroyer of the golden retriever.
And we know they are notoriously food-motivated. Everyone knows a golden will happily eat a discarded sandwich off the sidewalk.
Or a shoe, as we established.
Right. But the real danger, highlighted in text, goes beyond just having a big appetite. It's about the metabolic shift that occurs as they age, hidden entirely from the owner's view.
Yeah, that double coat we just discussed is excellent at hiding the first 5 to 8 pounds of excess fat. A dog's metabolism naturally slows as they enter their middle and senior years.
Just like humans.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if the owner continues feeding the exact same caloric volume they fed when the dog was a highly active 3-year-old, those surplus calories immediately convert to adipose tissue.
And the mechanics of that extra weight are terrifying when you consider what we discussed about joint impact.
Let's quantify it. If a golden retriever is carrying just 5 extra pounds of fat, that might not sound like much to a human. But when that dog jumps off the back of an SUV or leaps off the living room couch, the downward kinetic force on their front, carpal joints, and elbows isn't just 5 pounds.
Because of gravity.
Right. The impact force is multiplied by gravity and velocity. That extra 5 pounds might translate to 20 or 30 pounds of sheer destructive force slamming into their cartilage every single time they land.
Ouch. which is why the visual and physical assessment tools in the guide are so vital. You cannot rely on a scale once a year at the vet. You have to physically put your hands on the dog.
Yes, you do.
You should be able to feel their ribs under the fur without having to press through a thick layer of fat. From above, there needs to be a clear, visible waist tapering inward behind the ribs. From the side, an abdominal tuck.
If you wait until the dog looks visually obese to the naked eye, you are already months behind. And reversing obesity in this breed is a logistical nightmare.
I can imagine.
You have to severely restrict the calories of a dog whose main joy in life is eating, making them miserable. Simultaneously, you have to increase their caloric burn through exercise, which is now mechanically painful for them because of the excess weight loading their joints.
It's a vicious cycle. So consistent daily exercise acts as the ultimate preventative tool, balancing the intake versus the output. To help owners actually manage these metrics, the source material points to a digital organizational companion called VitalPet,
which addresses a major flaw in how we manage animal health. Human memory is terrible.
Oh, the worst.
We convince ourselves, oh, he looks about the same size as last month, or we've been walking him just as much as we did last winter.
The VitalPet tool kind of removes that guesswork. It allows owners to meticulously track microfluctuations in weight, log the exact duration of daily activity, and consolidate lifelong health records, catching a 2% weight increase in real time before it becomes a 10% mobility crisis.
It provides data visualization for your dog's biology, but the Academy Guide is very careful to issue a disclaimer here.
Right, important to note.
A tool like VitalPet is strictly for data organization. It never supersedes the diagnostic authority and medical guidance of a licensed veterinarian.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Let's bring all these mechanical pieces together. We started by discarding the cliché of the lazy suburban family dog. We uncovered an elite, working-class biological machine that demands a very precise synergy of mental and physical engagement.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, keeping a golden retriever structurally sound and at an optimal weight isn't about just feeding them less or walking them more.
It's way more complex.
It really is. It is the complex management of a biological system. It requires protecting the skeletal chassis during puppyhood, maximizing caloric and mental burn during adulthood, and meticulously preserving joint fluidity in the senior years.
And it demands an absolute awareness of the environment. Respecting the thermodynamics of their double coat in the summer heat, understanding the brutal physics of concrete on their joints, and utilizing the zero-impact hack of swimming whenever possible.
You're essentially curating a specific lifestyle to satisfy an ancient blueprint.
Whether you are currently preparing to bring a new puppy into your home, trying to optimize a senior dog's fading mobility, or you simply find the mechanics of animal biology fascinating, understanding these underlying systems changes you.
It absolutely does.
It makes you a radically sharper, more empathetic observer. You stop looking at a dog chewing a rug as a nuisance, and you start seeing a brilliant, unemployed worker desperately asking you for a job.
That perspective shift changes the entire relationship between human and animal. And actually, it leaves me with a thought I'd highly recommend you mull over today.
Let's hear it.
We've just spent this entire deep dive examining how absolutely vital it is to match a golden retriever's daily routine to their historical working biology. We've established that if we deny them that intentional physical and mental stimulation, they physically and psychologically deteriorate inside the comforts of a modern living room.
Right. They become that sports car rotting in traffic.
Exactly. But look at the parallel here. If a dog requires this much deliberate engineered activity just to survive the stagnant comfort of modern indoor living, what happens when human lifestyles drift just as far away from our own evolutionary working heritage?
Oh, wow.
Think about human biology. We evolved to hunt, forage, track, and move constantly across uneven terrain. Now, we sit in ergonomically designed chairs, staring at flat screens for 9 hours a day in climate-controlled boxes.
We really do.
Are we, as a species, currently suffering from the exact same evolutionary mismatch? Are human beings slowly breaking down because we are missing out on our own version of a complex puzzle toy and a grueling run through the fields?
That is an incredibly heavy realization. Maybe our own modern anxieties and joint pains are just the human equivalent of chewing the couch cushions. We're missing our own enrichment.
It's definitely something to think about.
What a brilliant, provocative thought to leave off on. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the hidden mechanics of the Golden Retriever.
It was fantastic to break this down with you. Keep questioning what you see and keep observing the biology around you.
We encourage you to keep exploring the fascinating world of animal and human health. Until next time, stay curious.